Okie dokie. All right. Well, we are recording so that Wendy can hear us talk about the third eye, the Ajna chakra. And Ajna translates to something along the lines of, did I hear higher wisdom? Hang on a second, I'm going to pull it up here. I'll look at that. Enhanced knowledge. So Ajna means in Sanskrit enhanced knowledge. So this is the consciousness of enhanced knowledge, and as Muggs puts it, the chakra of the divine mind. All right. So I found it really interesting last week. I mentioned how interesting I thought that this was about hearing the intuitive mind, right? Not here. This is being connected to the divine, right? So here you're maybe not fully connected, but you're starting to hear that message, hear that wisdom, become cognitive, that it's out there. Here is when we are actually cognizing the divine, where we're actually hearing our intuition. So before I get into that piece there, the Ajna chakra relates to both the lower mind and the higher mind. So it operates on two different levels of existence, the Ajna chakra. So the Manomaya kosha is the layer of the body that deals with emotions and senses. Okay, and then the higher mind is that divine mind, the universal wisdom. I'm going to read you just a little bit. This is right out of the 300-hour manual. In regards to this. So knowledge is acquired through the Manomaya kosha, or the mental sheath, and the Vijnanamaya kosha, the intellectual sheath. So there's the mental sheath and the intellectual sheath. The Manomaya kosha processes thoughts and emotions. It is in direct control, so this is the lower mind. It processes thoughts and emotions and is in direct control of the operation of the physical body and the training of the energy flow of prana. When this mind receives clear instructions from the higher mind, it functions quite well. However, when it is clouded over by its illusions, it experiences doubt and the deeper wisdom is clouded. The knowledge that we acquire through the higher mind is quite different from the knowledge that is acquired through the lower mind. In the lower mind, distortions can arise as a result of our emotions, affecting our reasoning and often causing us to err in judgment. This is not the case with the higher mind. Vijnana means to know. This is the higher wisdom, not the logic that can be clouded by our emotions or senses. The Vijnanamaya kosha, the intellectual sheath, is the sheath of wisdom that knows, decides, judges, and discriminates between this and that, between useful and not useful. A major part of spiritual practice is gaining an ever-increasing access to this level of our being. It is the level that has the higher wisdom to seek truth, to go within in search of eternal consciousness. This is not just the sixth sense, not just intuition, not just psychic phenomenon. That's the higher mind. It includes our ability to be rational, to think clearly, to perceive clearly, okay? It also, of course, is associated with perception and imagination, right? And so in the Upanishads, there's one whole Upanishad that speaks to the importance of our imagination for connecting to God, to connecting to the divine. That without imagination, the divine does not exist, right? The divine and the imagination are deeply, deeply entwined. I love that. right? Okay. It's also the place where the union of opposites, the dissolution of duality happens. So it's where the two nadis meet. It's okay, figure out what you got going on there.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. So the Ida and the Pingala nadi, right and left side, associated with feminine energy, masculine energy, and those kind of energies, which that they terminate, they begin here at the nostril and they terminate at the third eye. So like this is the place where those two energies meet, right? So that's one of the importances of this practice that we do of the alternate nostril breathing, is bringing equal energy to those sides, because we need them to be in harmony and balance up here so that we're able to still the mind, still the senses through that harmony, and then we can perceive the higher mind, the higher wisdom. Okay. It's here, it's through the Ajna chakra that we start to connect to the divine, like truly connect to the divine. So a blocked third chakra, or sorry, third eye, the blocked Ajna chakra will often relate to dreamlessness. So in yoga, dreams are an important place of knowledge. We do not take them literally. They're not true, right knowledge, but there is important information in our dreams. And a blocked third chakra, often they will not have dreams. There are no dreams, okay? Or they can't remember them, okay? Poor imagination, difficulty of visualization, like difficulty to envision things in your head, poor perception, self-deception, a lack of empathy is a sign of a blocked third eye, poor decision-making, like coming to the rational mind, poor decision-making, and denying reality, like denying things that are real. Okay. Physically, this will often show up as headaches, so the physical part of the body associated with the third eye is the eyes, the brain, and the sinuses. So anything to do with those is is associated with the third chakra or third eye, and so sinus congestion, night blindness, and other vision issues could show signs of a blocked third eye. And as well as poor memory, inability to hold on to memories. Yeah.
Yeah. Big trouble.
And then the Rajasic side of it, the too wide open third eye is like the opposite side of that. So someone who relies way too heavily on their psychic abilities and does not employ their rational mind, right? There has to be a balance between those two. In fact, I want to make up a moment and say this, because sometimes in yoga, you'll find in sort of the false positivity, that toxic positivity that's out there in this yoga world, and also on the level of like cult dogmatic sort of thinking, where they tell you, ignore your mind. Don't listen to your rational mind. Listen only to your intuition. That, put all of your flags up. Let all of your flags come up, because your rational mind, your ability to think clearly and make decisions is essential to our well-being. Essential. So our intuitive mind, essential. Our rational mind, essential. Okay. Okay, so too wide open, their rational mind probably isn't working, and their intuition mind is way too wide open, and they're just relying too heavily on that, often a little disconnected from reality, right? Just not really grounded in reality. So there's often that. And the sense of being ungrounded, or not looking after the physical needs, the physical responsibilities that we have in our life. So I'm like that. I get into digging into my work, into this work, I will go all the way to dinner time without eating a bite. And I do that regularly. I have to actually force myself to go and eat because I'm not hungry. I'm getting everything I need right here, right? Like it's all happening right here. So I don't even pay attention to the needs of my body. That's too wide open. It's too much, right? You have to balance those. Again, some other symptoms would be nightmares or delusions or hallucinations, right? That's just too much, too wide open there. An inability to focus, poor focus, or intrusive memories, intrusive thoughts, right? That sort of thing. And a balanced, a sattvic third eye will, you'll have, your rational mind will be functioning, right? You'll be able to be rational and make rational decisions. Your reason is functioning, okay? And as well as you're intuitive and imaginative, inspired, insightful, visionary, and also steady and even, right? That steadiness, because your rational mind is experiencing the emotions, experiencing the senses, and the higher mind is also balancing any sort of reactivity that might be happening, right? So that reactivity is diminished. You're just able to go through life, through all of its ups and downs, and have an even keel. That's one thing there. Some of the healing practices that really influence the third eye: journaling. Journaling is a big one, and dream journaling, right? My parents know I've had vivid dreams that I've been able to like just, you know, I can recite them to you. And Dad, I actually remember Dad saying, hey, you should write all this down when I was a kid. And I never did. I never did start a dream journal. But that's one thing that helped balance the third eye is dream journaling, because then you're able to intuitively start to gain the wisdom out of them, right? They don't just dissipate. They don't just go away. You've written them down. You get to contemplate them and perhaps find the wisdom, the gems hidden in them. Intuitive writing, stuff like poetry, where it's just intuitive. You're just letting it flow. You're not thinking too rationally. It's just flowing out. As well as using symbolism in our creativity. So not going to the literal art, the more symbolic art, whatever that might be, is very good. For intrusive thoughts, intrusive memories, hypnosis is an excellent tool to use. If you find yourself a hypnotherapist that you trust. I actually have met a few that use a lot of yoga techniques to improve their hypnosis results. Listening and responding to our intuition. So really tuning into the intuition and then acting upon it. So if we ignore it, it's like a muscle we don't use, right? If you don't use it, you're going to lose it, right? So what does your intuition tell you? And then taking the steps on that. Acts of visualization. So this is another piece, like you guys know this, I used to visualize my barrel races over and over again, visualize the pole bending over and over again, visualize what you want in your life so that you can be manifested, right? So visualization. And then the practices of yoga and meditation are incredibly influential on the third eye because we're balancing the mind and the body and bringing them towards stillness so that then we are able to perceive that higher mind at that stage, right? So the more we practice yoga, the more clearly we're able to perceive our intuition. The more we practice yoga, the more clearly we'll be able to interpret the messages of the body. The more clearly we're able to see the movements of the mind and to define what is healthy thinking and what is unhealthy thinking. So yoga is incredibly helpful for all of this. So yeah, so that's the talk on the Ajna chakra today. Do you have any questions? So its color is the color of indigo, or like a really beautiful ripe plum, right? That's its color. I like to think of it like the night sky. The element of it is light. So we've gone through the 5 elements. Now we move into the light. So light is its element that's associated with it. And that'll be folded into our class today. And then sort of the inspiration for our asana piece is about the union of the opposites. Because when the Ida and the Pingala Nadi become balanced, and the prana and the apana, the upward and downward movements of the energy of the breath in the body, come to meet, it causes the kundalini to rise all the way up, ding, up through to here. Okay, eventually, once we do all of our karmic work, it comes up into here. And then we are able to move beyond the opposites. Okay, so hot and cold, right and wrong, left and right, up and down, those are all opposites. You cannot separate one from the other. They are flip sides of a coin. Okay, so we have a front side of our body, a back side of our body, right? We've got all these opposites. When we come up, when the energy, when the spiritual consciousness comes up here, we are now transcending all of those opposites. So the spirit itself lives in a place where there is no opposites. Okay, and that is what the Ajna chakra brings to us, is that knowingness of being, we're part of the opposites, but that's the transitory piece. That's the piece that will fade away. The piece that is beyond the opposites is what carries on. So the class today is a little bit about opposites and bringing balance to opposing energies so that we can transcend them. How's the sound today, Dad?